Now, the West has gazed and studied all others for the last 200-300 years, sending a lot of scholars, missionaries, anthropologists to India to study. And the purpose is to map everything about our thought and our people and our philosophy onto their framework. So some Sanskrit words are lost and replaced by some English equivalent, but inside the English equivalent is a Christian meaning. So yajna, when it becomes sacrifice, it loses some meaning, it loses a lot of meaning. Because the idea of sacrifice comes from, there used to be human sacrifice in those societies, and then animal sacrifice, and then Jesus is the final sacrifice that God makes, that God causes of such an enormous magnitude that no more sacrifices are needed. So our yajna has nothing to do with that story. So one of the chapters in this book is called Sanskrit Non-translatables, in which I am taking common translations and criticizing them, like Shakti as energy. Shakti is not some electricity or something. That is just one aspect. It is huge meanings in our tradition. And so I even criticize, when we translate Atman as soul, because soul doesn't reincarnate. There's no reincarnated. And animals don't have soul. Plants don't have soul. So when you eliminate the word Atman, you eliminated a huge amount of meaning and substituted something simple, something much simpler. Yeah. Imagine if Max Muller, when he translated all these great books of India into English, imagine if he also had translated the Yoga Sutra, which luckily he did not. Then yoga might have been called gymnastics or exercise, because he didn't know, their civilization did not have the same experience, so they did not have a word for it. A civilization has word for what it has experienced. So the idea of rishi, they don't have. The prophet is not a rishi. The prophet has not reached a high state of consciousness to have unity with the Brahman, because that unity with Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, is not available. And prophet just hears a voice of, it's a dualistic system. Somebody, the chief executive, gives a command to the HR department and says, go teach this to everybody. So the HR department goes and carries out, it forms a church or an organization. It is not the same thing as what the rishi achieves in a state of consciousness. Yeah. Also, the prophet is non-reproducible. It happened and it will never happen again. Prophet is finished, that lineage is finished. Whereas the rishi is inherent in every one of you, is Satchitanand, that is the nature of the self. So everyone has the potential of having the same experience which the rishi had. So if you look at our vocabulary, it's very important to preserve the vocabulary in order not to get mixed up and become a subset of Christianity. And I introduce a lot of terms in this book. One term I introduce, of course I already said, non-translatability of mantra. Because mantra is vibration, not just the intellectual meaning of word, but also a vibration from saying that mantra. And going inside and saying it in silence, and going inside and the 4 levels of vak. So the idea of a mantra is not as simple as what it means conceptually, that you could replace with something else. So you cannot take Om and replace with God or something, because the sound of Om is the sound of Om. So one sound replaced by another sound has got a different effect. It is not the same effect. So when you're talking at the intellectual level, you could say it means the same thing. We assume it means the same thing. But when you are going into the adhyatmic level, a vibration is not replaceable by a different vibration. So it is non-translatable in that sense also.